I bought the laptop because it was cheap, because the guy selling it on the online marketplace was in a hurry to get rid of it, because I was broke and desperate and trying to get back on my feet after months of unemployment. And when he handed it to me in the parking lot of a gas station just off the interstate, he didn't say much, just nodded, told me the battery was decent, and said quietly, "If it asks you a question, don't answer," which I laughed off as a joke, a glitch. Maybe some dumb Cortana bug or corrupted BIOS screen. But the way he looked at me as he drove off didn't feel like a joke. Didn't feel like a guy who just made a quick $100. It felt like he was relieved to be done with it. The laptop worked fine when I got home. Booted up fast, no viruses, no junk, just a fresh install of Windows and a couple folders labeled Old Stuff and Keep. And I figured I'd wipe it clean anyway, start over, but when I opened the folder called Keep, I found a single file named inno_1_saw. It wasn't a video, not a document, not an image either, just a generic blank icon with no extension. And when I right-clicked to delete it, the whole screen froze for half a second, then the folder snapped shut on its own. I figured it was just old hardware being weird, so I restarted, opened it again, and now the file was gone. In its place, there was a new folder called Let Me Out. I stared at it for longer than I should have, because I thought maybe it was a prank program, something the previous owner had installed to mess with whoever bought the laptop next. But when I hovered over it, the preview info said it was created 30 seconds ago, and my fingers started to tingle like my nerves were trying to pull my hand away from the mouse. I clicked. Inside the folder was a single video file named cam0_001, and when I opened it, it was footage of me sitting at my desk in real time, wearing the same shirt, breathing the same way, except I wasn't recording anything, and my webcam light wasn't on. I slammed the screen shut like that would help, like that would stop whatever just watched me watching myself, and when I opened the laptop again, the desktop had changed. The wallpaper was now a still frame from the video, me, frozen mid-expression, mouth slightly open like I'd been caught saying something I couldn't remember. I tried deleting the file. The system locked. I tried doing a full reset. Nothing happened. I even unplugged the battery, waited 5 minutes, started it back up, and now there were 5 new folders. Let Me Out, Let Me In, You Already Know, Stop Lying, and one called Daniel, which was my name, and I swear to you, I never typed it. Never signed in with any of my accounts, never gave the machine anything personal. That night I slept with the laptop closed, face down, in a drawer. I don't know why. I just didn't want it watching me. The next morning I opened the drawer and the laptop was already on, screen glowing dimly like it had been awake the whole time, waiting, and when I lifted the lid the desktop had changed again. This time the wallpaper was black with a single line of white text in the center that said, "You closed me first," and all the icons were gone, not hidden, not moved, just erased like they had never been there to begin with. And I swear I hadn't connected the thing to Wi-Fi yet, hadn't logged into anything, hadn't downloaded a single file, and yet somehow it had pulled my name, my image, and now apparently my actions into whatever this thing was building. I opened the folder called Daniel with trembling fingers, half expecting it to be empty, but inside were dozens of screenshots, images of me taken from angles that didn't make sense, shots from above, below, behind my back in places I didn't have cameras. One of them even showed me sleeping in bed with the covers pulled up to my chin, and my mouth half open like I was in the middle of a nightmare I hadn't woken from yet. And worst of all, in the bottom corner of every image was a timestamp, dated hours into the future. I tried deleting them. The system locked again. The folder renamed itself instantly to Keep Watching. I took the battery out. Again, I unplugged everything, even smashed the power button with the side of my fist, but nothing helped. Because when I turned it back on, the laptop didn't boot into Windows this time. It booted into something else, something I didn't recognize. A black screen with white letters blinking at the top. Hello, Daniel. Do you remember what you did? And 2 options underneath. Yes and no. And neither would let me click. I sat there for over an hour watching that screen flicker like it was breathing, and every few minutes a new window would pop up with a distorted image from my past, photos I hadn't seen in years, places I hadn't thought about since I was a kid. In some moments I couldn't even recall existing, until one popped up that made my throat close. It was me, much younger, standing at the edge of a lake where no one else was supposed to be. Behind me, barely visible in the shadows of the trees, was a figure I didn't recognize. Tall, blurred, watching. I slammed the screen shut and threw the laptop under a blanket like that would help, like the darkness could smother it. but I still heard the faint hum of the fan spinning from under the bed, and when I checked my phone, I had a new notification even though it had been in airplane mode all night. A file had been shared via Bluetooth. No device name. No sender. Just a file named, "Just Tell the Truth." I didn't open it. I couldn't. I just stared at the screen until it went dark, and when I finally turned back to the laptop, the folder names had changed again. All of them now said the same thing. "You remember?" I didn't turn the laptop back on for 2 full days, not because I thought that would stop it, but because I was afraid that every time I opened it I was giving it more of myself, feeding it with my attention, with my reactions, with whatever energy made it stronger or smarter or more personal. And during those 2 days I still kept hearing the faint sound of keys typing when no one was typing, the soft click of a trackpad being used while the device was powered down and hidden under towels in my closet. And even when I tried leaving the apartment to get some air, to clear my head, I couldn't stop noticing every black screen around me, every security camera, every phone display, every car window seemed to flash my reflection a second too late, like it was waiting to catch up to a version of me that had already moved on. On the 3rd day, I found a new note in my mailbox, handwritten on a torn-out piece of printer paper, no envelope, no address, just 5 words scrawled in shaky ink. "It knows where you buried it." My stomach dropped so hard I nearly threw up right there in the hallway, because I hadn't told anyone, not a soul, about the one thing I buried when I was 14, the one thing I swore I'd never speak about again. Not because I forgot, but because I made myself forget. I rushed back inside, locked the door, and opened the laptop, even though every cell in my body told me not to, and this time it booted straight to a video file titled do_not_open, which of course I opened, because at this point, it wasn't a choice anymore. The video started with a black screen, silence, then slowly faded into a shot of a wooded area, somewhere rural, cold, gray, and it took me nearly 30 seconds to realize it was the exact same lake from that photo, the one from my childhood. And whoever was holding the camera knew exactly where to go, because they walked through the brush, down the slope, right to the tree stump where I had buried that thing almost 20 years ago. But it wasn't just a video of the place. It was live. I could see the leaves moving in the wind. I could hear birds. And just as the camera stopped moving, I saw it, my name, carved into the bark of the stump, the exact way I scratched it in with a pocket knife that night, the way I promised no one would ever find. The camera zoomed in slowly, and I couldn't look away, couldn't breathe, because I remembered now. I remembered the night I ran into the woods with that shoebox, the dirt on my hands, the sound of something whispering in my ear that wasn't me, and the way the ground almost felt like it opened on its own to receive what I was hiding. The video ended with one final shot, a close-up of the disturbed earth, as if something had recently crawled out. I didn't leave my apartment that night, couldn't leave, not when I kept hearing a knock that wasn't on my front door but from somewhere deeper inside, like it was coming from the walls or maybe beneath the floor. And even when I turned off every light and sat in silence trying to convince myself that this was all stress-induced hallucination, that the laptop was corrupted and nothing more, the sound kept happening, 3 soft knocks in a row, then silence, then 3 again. Always in the same rhythm, like it was trying to remind me of something I'd promised not to remember. I finally opened the laptop again, not because I wanted to, but because I felt like I had to, like it would punish me if I didn't, and when the screen blinked to life there was no desktop anymore. Just a text document already opened full screen with no file name. Just black text on a white background that said, "You buried it. You knew what it would become. It only waited for you to return." Below those lines was a button that simply said, "Confess." And even though it wasn't clickable with the mouse, the cursor blinked patiently like it was daring me to type. I don't know how long I sat there, fingers hovering over the keyboard, sweat gathering at my temples even though the room was freezing. But eventually I started typing. Not because I believed it would end things, but because I needed to see the truth on the screen, needed to know that what I did as a child wasn't just a story I told myself to sleep better. I typed it all out. About the kid I saw near the lake who followed me home. About how he didn't speak for days but kept watching me through the windows. About how he finally said my name one night in my own voice. And how I got scared. So scared that I lured him into the woods with a flashlight and a lie. Hit him with a rock. Stuffed him into a box with that same pocket knife still in my back pocket. And buried him deep beneath the stump while something in the air whispered, "You're fixing the mistake." Like it was proud of me. Like I was completing someone else's plan. I never told anyone. I never looked back. But the moment I finished typing the last word, the document auto-saved, closed itself, and a new folder appeared called Already Forgotten. And when I opened it, there were photos, not of that boy, not of the lake, but of me, sleeping again, in places I hadn't been in years. My childhood bedroom, my high school library, the back of the church where my father's funeral was held, and each image had a single phrase written below it. He was always watching. I backed away from the screen, heart pounding, lungs locked, because I realized that every place I had tried to forget, every place I'd once felt alone, I hadn't been. Something had followed me from that night forward, never speaking, never touching, just waiting. And now it didn't need to wait anymore. I don't know how I slept that night. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just blacked out from the weight of it all. But when I opened my eyes the next morning, the laptop was gone, not moved, not closed, just gone like it had never existed. And for a second, I thought maybe I had dreamed the whole thing. Maybe the images, the folders, the voice that wore my name had been some elaborate stress-induced breakdown. But when I turned my head, there on the pillow beside me was a printed photo, glossy and warm-like. It had just come from a machine, and in the photo, I was asleep in my bed, taken from directly above, but my eyes in the photo were open, wide open. I dropped it and backed off the mattress, breath catching in my throat, hands shaking as I looked around the room for anything that could explain it. But all I found was a note taped to my mirror, the same handwriting as before, the same thick strokes, but this time it didn't say anything cryptic. It just said, "We switched places last night. You won't remember how." I stared at my reflection, expecting to see some clue, some fracture in the illusion, but everything looked the same. Same tired face, same clothes from the day before, same tired eyes, until I blinked and my reflection didn't. It stared, then it smiled. And I realized, suddenly and with perfect clarity, that this wasn't about the laptop or the photos or even the thing I buried when I was a boy. This was about memory, about how easily we trust what we think we know, and how quietly someone else can crawl inside your life if you leave the door open long enough. The laptop didn't trap anything. It didn't curse me. It warned me, and I ignored it. So now I live my life as normally as I can. Eat, sleep, go to work. But sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and realize I'm not breathing, and I don't start again until the reflection in the mirror blinks first. The laptop never returned. But every week I receive a new folder on my desktop, even on machines that were never connected, always named after someone I used to know, and always containing a single file labeled "Watch Closely." And each time I open it, I see their face, their eyes wide, their mouth frozen in a silent scream, and the sound of the folder quietly renaming itself in the background, always to the same thing: "You're next."